After months of work, our rented house was almost ready for the roof. Then came weeks of relentless rain. On 10th of February 2026, everything changed. In just a few seconds, months of work collapsed before our eyes. In October 2025, we began one of the most important stages in the construction of our third house. After many months of planning, preparing the land, and building the foundations, the time had finally come to raise the walls. Day after day, the house began to take shape. Each new layer of rammed earth moved us one step closer to the dream that led us to the Alentejo. For several months, the work progressed well. By early February 2026, the walls had been completed. The ring beam running around the entire perimeter of the house was also finished, and the wooden beams that would support the future roof had started to be installed. On the 3rd of February, we even had a small surprise. After many grey and rainy days, the sun appeared. It seemed like a sign that the worst might finally be behind us. But the weather forecasts remained far from encouraging. Portugal was being hit by a succession of Atlantic storms, and the rain simply would not stop. The work had to be suspended. The house was carefully covered with plastic sheeting, and we all hoped that the weather would improve. But it didn't. For weeks, the rain fell almost without interruption, at times accompanied by such strong winds that rain was striking the walls almost horizontally. Despite all the protection measures, the rammed was still relatively fresh and remained vulnerable to excessive moisture. Our own records clearly show what happened. During January alone, we recorded almost 294 millimeters of rainfall. In the first 10 days of February, a further 228 millimeters fell. In total, more than 520 millimeters of rain in just 40 days. To put that into perspective, during the same 40-day period in 2025, we recorded only 177 millimeters. The ground became completely saturated. On the 10th of February, we were in the cabin, about 65 meters from the house. That was when we noticed that something didn't look quite right on the south-facing wall. We decided to walk over and take a closer look. When we reached the building site, we were faced with a scene we had never imagined we would see. The west gable wall had completely collapsed. On the south and east walls, two large cavities had already formed, each measuring between 1 and 2 meters across. We immediately realized the seriousness of the situation. We called the builder, who came to the site straight away. While we were inspecting the damage and trying to work out what to do next, we heard a loud crash. We ran outside, and we witnessed one of the most difficult moments of this entire project. The south and east walls had just collapsed. In a matter of seconds, months of work disappeared. It was a real nightmare. But the problems were not limited to the house. In the lowest part of the land, a meadow of around 13,000 square meters remained flooded for weeks. The entire area stayed underwater while the storms continued to sweep across the country. Months earlier, we had sown yellow lupins to nature-enrich the soil and prepare it for future planting. The entire crop was lost. Around 100 meters of fencing were also damaged. Fortunately, nobody was injured, but the damage and the delay to the project were significant. It was only on the 26th of February that repair works could finally begin. First, the entire affected area had to be cleared. Then, the sections of the ring beam above the damaged walls had to be cut away. The walls had to be rebuilt almost from scratch. All the earth from the collapsed walls was reused in the construction of the new ones. It was a slow process, a demanding process. And above all, a test of our patience and determination. For nearly 2 months, we worked simply to recover what we had already achieved. Finally, on the 9th of April, the project returned to the stage it had reached before the collapse. Two months of work just to get back to where we had been. Life in the countryside is often associated with peace, silence, and a close connection with nature. And all of that is true, but living in the countryside also means accepting that nature always has the final word. In this case, we lost walls, a crop, and a great deal of time. But we did not lose our determination to continue. Today, when you look at this house, we see much more than rammed dirt walls. We see resilience, we see lessons learned, and we see another chapter in our new life in the Alentejo. Thank you very much for joining us. We hope to see you again in the next chapters of this adventure. Until then, we wish you all the very best. A warm greeting from Portugal. See you soon.